Now, it's very common that people want to use products to polish their water. And a couple of really popular options is activated carbon and Polyfilter. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of both? So basically, Polyfilter is going to only remove what you don't want, and it will not remove what you do want. And over a period of time, it will turn to black to tell you it's finished. And when it's changing color, it will change various colors, and the colors will indicate what it's predominantly removing. So this one is a very advanced and very selective media that you can use. And it's also going to pull out your particles. And it's amazing when you pull this out how heavy it is, because it's not just trapping the particles like any other mechanical filter, it's actually clinging them. So if you want really crystal clear water and you want all of your accumulants removed, then Polyfilter is an excellent go. Now, activated carbon can be very good as well. Now, the activated carbon will remove everything you want and everything you don't want. So this one here is nowhere near as selective as this one. So I do find if you've got driftwood and you want to clear the water from driftwood, I think a good quality activated carbon is very hard to beat. But for the general removal of accumulants or much more general use, I would absolutely go for Polyfilter. I prefer not to use something like activated carbon all the time. I will tend to use that just every now and then, or if I'm trying to clear driftwood tannins. Polyfilter I'm more comfortable to use for longer periods of time because it isn't just going to strip out all my good stuff as well. So I much rather use Polyfilter for just general use, but various specific uses like the removal of your tannins, I may very well go for the actual activated carbon. So in general, they're both very good and they both have their various options. Now, you don't really want to use any of them if you're going to be medicating, because both of these products will remove medication out of the water. Both of them are quite good for reducing your general maintenance. And if you're going to not do water changes enough, then these are very good products to add. And both of them are actually quite good for removing things like hydrogen sulfide as well. But Polyfilter is definitely my go-to. Now, when hydrogen sulfide might be an issue is particularly if you've got an old aquarium and then you're going to relocate it or you're going to disturb up underneath the rocks and so forth. You can release various gases that can actually be quite bad. So I would make sure that I had Polyfilter nice and fresh if I was going to do something like that. So one other consideration is that Polyfilter will help to reduce your phosphate, whereas your carbon will contain phosphate and will actually slightly increase your phosphate. So this one's going to have a better effect for algae reduction than your carbon is. Once again, both very good products that need to be used at the right time. Also, with your carbons, be very aware that you do get what you pay for. So there's some really cheap carbons on the market and they are not going to give the same results as a high quality carbon. Same as your Polyfilter, it's not a cheap product, but once you use it, the fact that it tells you when it's full is a big thing, and also the fact that it never releases what it's collected. Whereas, especially your cheaper carbons, they are going to release what they've collected once they're actually full, which will not be as bad with the better ones, but you do need to be aware that your carbons will release what they've collected over time, whereas your Polyfilter will not. Also, your carbon, you don't actually know when it's full. What people tend to do is just put a bit of water into the bottom of a white bucket, and if your bucket looks completely white and the water's white, your carbon's probably okay. Whereas over a period of time, if the water in the bucket looks a little bit yellow in the white bucket, then that might mean that it's time to replace your carbon Whereas this one's easier because it just turns black to tell you it needs replacing.